So, a lot of people have said that they want to watch me paint. And they have these ideas that it's going to be like Bob Ross or something. That I'm going to say magical and vulgar things while I'm painting. They say this because my online persona on social media would suggest that. Except here's the thing. Social media, I find terribly irritating. So I'm usually irritated when I'm on it. And I'm also afraid that if I'm not on it, then I'm going to miss something that is going to affect me in a negative fashion. So I tend to be a wee bit grumpy. I also get on there and people that I love and respect share things that are along my line of thinking and outrage me. And I don't understand why they don't bother other people. So I tend to vocalize that. We know. Yeah, I know. But they also think that because I do those things, that when it comes to painting, I will do the same thing. There's a problem with this thought process. This thought process really kind of excludes the parts of the brain that I'm using to paint with. See, I don't know if you guys had this psychology in school, but we did. We studied psychology and sociology and philosophy in high school, no less. It was electives, and because I was into the 5-year plus plan, I got to take them. And I was thankful for that, I really was. And one of the things you learn about is the human brain when you study psychology. And I'm not a psychologist, I'm not an expert on it, I don't. But I know this, that when you study it, you learn that the right side of the brain is mostly pattern work, it's pictures. And the left side of the brain is speech. The ability to work through an idea with the right side of my brain and vocalize it on the left. In any case, it's hard to make the two sides work together. Pattern learning is one completely separate function. Linguistics is mostly the left side. I don't even think in words on this side of my brain. I only think in colors and patterns. I don't think in words at all, which makes sense because it's the side of your brain that doesn't do those things. I think that people think when I make a video about me painting that I'm going to talk to them and curse. I hate to break this to you, but when I paint, I don't talk. I don't usually talk at all. I'm not aggravated. This part of the brain takes over. This part of the brain sits way back, like midway to the back of a school bus, looking out the window going, guess we're just watching. When I do it perfectly, this side completely disassociates. The ego dies. It doesn't matter anymore. Like, to the point of which I stop being who I am. I don't recognize me anymore, and it's not even relevant if I did. At that point in time, it's right brain activity. It's also the same thing you experience when you have an ego death experience, which is one of the reasons people use hallucinogenics. You'll also notice right now that I'm talking to you, and I'm holding a paintbrush, but I'm not painting. Part of that is definitely because I cannot talk and do this at the same time. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to explain what I'm doing, and then I'm going to do a stop motion so you can watch it, because that way I don't have to talk. What do I think about when I paint? Well, what I've got right here is a board, okay? This is a very heavy board. This is much heavier than anything else I've painted. This material is extraordinarily thick. The cradling for this is 1x2 oak boards. Glued and is fixed to the back of this structure. The edge will become a design along with the front. They will not be separable. This is an odd size. It's one of the reasons I do this intentionally. Certain pieces I do not want framed, ever. So I intentionally make them an odd size because I don't want them framed. I made it to look a certain way. That is how I want it displayed. That's how I want it viewed. Obviously I don't have control over what people do, but when you make it prohibitive for a framing job, you force people not to frame things. You can frame pictures, but And people ask, well, how do you hang it? Well, there's no wires in the back of it. If I hang a painting like this, I put 2 nails in a wall parallel with each other, even and parallel with the ground at a slight angle up, and I put the board over it. Won't it fall off? Not unless gravity changes. And unless the wall is flexible, it's not going anywhere. What if a kid knocks it off? Well, I don't have children, and I don't put these things low enough for a child to get to it. A child can knock anything off. I figured I'd explain it in case you're wondering. When I do a painting like this, what I've chosen for this is a nighttime or evening scene. I like it to be ethereal and a little bit ambiguous. I don't want it to be obvious. It's very important to me that it's not obvious. It's that it is fantasy. It is magic. I want you to dream. I want you to see what I see and the beauty, this almost ethereal, otherworldly light I intend to create. And yes, this painting will have a field glitter element. However, the way I'm doing this and why I'm doing it has everything to do with a self-contained system of agriculture in which the most important thing that you grow is not the food or the animal, but the earth itself. And I believe, with every part of my being, that if people were to adopt this type of agriculture, we can change and fix the world in so many profoundly unique ways that it's not even funny. So I make this because I want to invite you to dream with me about what's potential. I'm going to tell you about the painting before we do it. If you're wondering if this is nerve-wracking, the answer is yes, because I don't know how it's going to turn out. Instead of showing you an after effect, I must show you the process now. So as I make mistakes, you will witness them. As I come up short, you will see. And when I succeed, you will be present for it. I don't know how long this painting is going to take, so I don't know if this will be ready for this Sunday's raffle, auction. But I feel like it's more important, even than the fact that I am building a brand and making money that helps us to eventually buy our farm that I can use to help others, even more important than charitable work with this, even more important than any of those things, is you beginning to understand what is wrong with the system and how it could be fixed. This is an option, and I'm filtering it through the right side of my brain. Now, what I have is I have a scene. With every landscape I do, I try to do a series of effects, and they may not always be obvious. A lot of times I like a landscape where you are presented with something in the foreground, you're presented with an escape in the background, and a mid-range of things that communicate with you. I like light elements, I like earth elements. Lighting is very important to me. I like dramatic lighting, I like moody shadows and colors. I also like the magic of nature. I like the way that nature makes us feel and how it communicates with us. And so that is an essential component. In this image, I will be putting a lot of forage up front with a variety of friends. And in the midground, you will see the illusion, maybe, the suggestion of agriculture. To the right, we will have a barn/house, a shelter, so be it, one of those things. Animals look for that, people are animals, they look for it. In the distance, maybe trees, maybe mist, maybe fields and mountains, evening clouds. You see no scary storm on the horizon, it's a peaceful night. You have shelter and cover on the other side. Everything, I attempt to balance it. It may just seem aesthetically pleasing, but I am talking about an entire environment that contains within it all the mechanisms and resources it needs to grow. And I want you to become inspired to see this in all things. So, now that we've got that out of the way, I'll explain to you what I'm doing right out the gate. I'm going to start with raw umber and probably some burnt sienna. I'm going to use that in the base layer to build up my tonal levels. In painting, tone does the work, color gets the credit. So when people see an impressive painting that has vibrant color and is very dynamic, they think it's the color. You can see this at the Museum of Fine Arts, where they have the woman in the red hat. I think it's Sargent, late 1800s. A red flower in her hat, whatever, it doesn't matter. I don't remember the name of the painting. That's not the point. Sleep deprived. So we're going to do what we can with today. The point is that the color that people think they see in this is a combination of factors. It's not the color at all. It's the tones that do it. It's the contrast. So there's a lot of dark, there's some light in the background, and then part of the light of the sun hitting the flower is a pop of the best part of the color. And people see this, and no matter what you show them, they get upset because you can't replicate it without the dark and the light. They think the color is what's relevant. It isn't. It's the tone that gives the color its voice. The tone is the, wah pedal for the note being played. It's the amplification of the color. The color itself is a flat thing. It doesn't do anything. So we're going to go through. We're going to start our tonal part of our painting. This is not normally something I do with landscapes right now. This is a much more involved technique. This takes longer. But since people really wanted to see it, I felt the appropriate thing to do would be to walk you through the whole process. This can be done either with just raw umber and burnt sienna or any color you want, really. I've seen people do it in greens, grays. It's a base layer. It's a neutral zone where you can build your value scale up and down. In a refined oil painting, this would go from being just raw umber and burnt sienna to possibly opaque grays, working the entire scale. And then after the second painting had done, the third painting of color, the fourth painting with glaze, the fifth layer would be like your scumbling, your highlight colors, your bright pop of white. And then on top of that, after it dried, would be somewhere in the realm of 10 to 30 coats of varnish to give the optical effect that an actual oil painting has. So, with those things in mind, we will now attempt that and see if it works out. And it either is or it isn't, and either way it might prove entertaining. So here we go, raw umber, burnt sienna, underpainting. Enjoy.